Hello, welcome to Iron Squid Chapter 2. We're in the middle of Group H, where right now we have seen Violet manage to knock Nesty down in the winner's bracket match, which means that Violet will be advancing as the first place player out of Group H. 3 players still remain. Down in the lowers, we have ThorZaIN going up against Delphi. Whoever loses this match is eliminated from the Iron Squid. Whoever wins will face Nesty in a best-of-3 to determine the final spot.
And coming into this, I mean, for me, looking at this group from a standpoint of someone who studies the European scene a lot, obviously for very obvious reasons, this is Delphi's nightmare situation. This is Delphi going up against a player that has had his number for a long time, and this is this is not one of Delphi's strongest matchups. So ThorZaIN's going to be a big hurdle for Delphi here. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, ThorZaIN, we already saw some impressive play from Violet that unfortunately sort of flubbed out due to some key defensive missteps. But here, as long as ThorZaIN plays reasonably and standardly, I think he'll certainly be able to take the win.
All right. And we're going to be loading up onto Abyssal City for our first map here, as we've seen like 1 or 2 games on Abyssal City thus far in Iron Squid. I think last group we did have 1 or 2, and then maybe in Group B as well for Kaldor and Wolf, but it's not as common in the tournament just yet, but I do like it as a map. Offers a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of map that has the watchtowers in positions that are key but aren't deciding factors.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of a map like Antigua Shipyard where if you hold that center watchtower, you see everything that goes on in the center. Maybe you can eke counterattacks around, but that's the most critical piece of terrain. In this one, each of these high ground pod watchtowers in the middle of Abyssal City are, if you control one, you don't necessarily control the other. And if you control one, your opponent can easily just move around the top or the bottom. So there's a lot of ordinarily you'd say it's difficulty for Terran because of all the Zerg counterattacks that are open, but also it can be a problem for Zerg because if Terran moves down an unanticipated angle, you just get caught off guard and you can never engage.
Yeah, it's a conversation we actually had, I think, last group, now that I think about it, about those watchtowers and the fact that they don't get full coverage of the map, which is something that can add that little bit of a chaos factor to the games on this map. So Delphi, I would love to see him go for a lot of counterattack potential, but still, in terms of what we want to see from ThorZaIN, that mech play is very, very cool for me to see. I want some of that.
So, as we step on into game number 1 of match 4 here in Group H, we see that in the left position, spawning as the hot Zerg. It is alternate attacks, Delphi.
And spawning over in our right-hand position here, as our blue Terran, he goes by the name of E.G. ThorZaIN. Delphi's a player that loves playing pink. Every time I cast him, he's only playing pink. You know, you have that starboard thing. That scoreboard. I always end up trying to predict people's colors, and Delphi's one of the most predictable guys. Bly was for a while until he got a girlfriend, and because he always played orange, and now his girlfriend insists he always like plays blue or red. I'm like, what?
Whoa, that's overstepping the bounds, man.
I know.
If any girlfriend ever told me, Sean, you must choose something other than yellow, I'll be like, we're over.
Yeah.
Do you understand how important the color FFA71A is important to me? Do you understand that?
I've heard stories. I'm
going to name my baby FFA71, and then his middle name will be A, and then his last name will be Plot.
Nice. But yeah, that color seems... Would you ever deviate? Would you ever throw the color away and get a new color, or is that never going to happen? Is that color with you for life?
Oh, get like Day 9 cauliflower blue or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I might. I mean, maybe if I'm getting more into yoga and less into casting, something a little bit more gentle, it'll be the Day 9 Daily where we learn to paint Bob Ross style, and there's that nice, friendly, inviting... Yeah, be a better painter. The inviting, calming blue. I would want someone to be in that zone, but I do like my yellow, and if anyone told me to do otherwise, I would I would unleash the sick beatdowns.
Out of curiosity, whilst we have ThorZaIN going for command center first, which is always normal, and Delphi going for a gas after spawning pool, is there a reason? Was there a moment that you decided that this was your color? How did it happen? How did it come about?
Just have a great designer, man. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And I was like, "I think good things about that." Okay. Yeah.
Cool. And that happened at the very start of the inception of the Day 9 Daily, or was that not the very inception, but like when you were transitioning into StarCraft 2?
It happened a little while after that.
Okay.
You know, I didn't really have a logo because I was just some kid, and then I was like, you know what? Let's make a logo. And FFA71A made me a man, Kalaris.
That's the transition. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for that. It's turned into a bit of an interview segment, but I'll take it.
We nailed it. Cool. Back over on Camp Game Front, we see that ThorZaIN is going for his ever so standard fast factory. He's going to be transitioning right on into the reactor. Very light on the Marine count, a single Marine. Delphi is going for the early link speed. It looks like he hasn't yet researched the metabolic boost yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting little decision from him. Ooh, he could be going really fast layer into really fast Mutalisks, which is something I've seen Delphi do from time to time. But against a player like ThorZaIN, it sometimes doesn't work out because you need the SimCity at the front of your base at the natural. Otherwise, you're just going to lose everything to Hellions. But it's still something that could come to fruition.
Oh, and it turns out it's just a late.
Oh,
a late speed. No,
that's disappointing.
No good. And ThorZaIN, though, is very pleasing to my eyes, going for a fast 2 barracks follow-up, so we have some aggression in store.
Oh, but he is going for a layer. He's adding on a second gas. 530 layers, quite quick. And I'm still waiting for the extra gas, guys. Come on, Delphi, don't disappoint me. That'll be great.
Delphi now going straight for the layer. Halfway done already. We don't really see 2 base timings with Zerg very much anymore, but given the distance to your third on Abyssal City, it's not surprising. Now ThorZaIN will be building that first set of Hellions. He's getting the stem. Now what is more modern is to continue to build Hellions, to have a coupled barracks plus Hellion attack. A little bit more old school is to rush straight up to Medivacs and Vikings. Have a little bit weaker of a ground force, but have a little bit more versatile of a ground force.
And I do like the way in which ThorZaIN executes this really, really nicely. It's something that I don't see as much from Terrans nowadays, the barracks into factory into 2 barracks from that point on. And there we go, there's the Spire from Delphi. Thank you for not disappointing me. And look at it, he's trying to hide it with Overlords as well. I like that. Okay.
Looks like it's going to be the 1 Evo Chamber Fast Spire. This is generally a play that you'll do to get a fast +1 Carapace upgrade. Just to have a little bit more strength in the mid-game. ThorZaIN's trying to bop in there and see if there's anything. He could swing around the south side and do some damage, but that's very risky. And he wants to make sure he has those units with this attack. So we see that the Zerglings at the front, ooh, does pick off a single SCV, building away so studiously.
The Hellions still poisoning themselves outside the natural here of Delphi. Not that much SimCity for him to deal with it, but that one spine and those Zerglings is more than enough to really shut this down, as he's still trying to find an avenue to poke him. But these Mutalisks are going to be coming pretty quickly here. Thankfully for ThorZaIN, though, back home, there's quite a lot of Marines with that lovely stem upgrade finishing in just a bit.
This is going to be a very difficult attack for Delphi to hold off. I mean, this is the sort of timing that works because there's no defense anti-air at home. But by commencing this attack right now, the Mutalisks are going to pop out, and they have to sit here and engage. And, I mean, there's not that many Marines. There's just 12, but 12 Marines with stim against 8 Mutalisks. You cannot even get up to the front lines. You literally have to battle those Marines pound for pound right there at the front, and it's so difficult.
Yeah, and the great thing about how ThorZaIN opens up with this is because he has his Hellions at the very front of the map at all times, there's no Zerglings that can spot this Marine Marauder move out, and he's actually going to take the engagement right here, right now. This is a fantastic position for ThorZaIN to be engaging on that ramp, and he will batter this back for now. Delphi is in a lot of trouble.
Oh, this is what makes this timing push so good. Mutalisk numbers dwindle, but more importantly, the Mutalisk will not be able to attack at all we are seeing those Hellions walls right up into the main base. 9, 10, drones get killed off 12. So good.
Yeah, that was a nice little bit of aggression there by ThorZaIN, but surprisingly to me, I thought he was going to lose more drones than that in that entirety. He only lost the 13, and Delphi now looks to put on the counter. But from this point on, ThorZaIN, he's getting his command center up, and he has to stay home for quite a while. He has to get his missile turrets up, position his Marines well to deal with the ensuing counterattack.
So here's the attempted counterattack by Delphi, but what makes this problematic for the Zerg player is that he's lost drones. First, he had to make units to defend this attack, and then he even lost drones in the attack. So normally, if you are trying to do Mutalisk Zergling, you're making mutas, you're making lings, you're putting on more pressure to the Terran player. But here, you can't do that anymore. You gotta just make drones and some mutas, so it makes it a very predictable, straightforward defense for Terran.
Yeah, and behind this, Delphi is now realizing that his Mutalisk tech is going to be completely redundant from here on out after being spotted and held back for quite a long time. So he's needing to transition onto the pathogen glands. He probably would have done this anyway. Scaling up with Mutalisks to anything higher than 10 to 15 is very, very treacherous waters against Terrans. Just, you know, 1 or 2 Thors in a mix, or just Marines dissolve them anyway with Stim, and you know, with him trying to shut down this third base, I don't think he's going to be too successful. ThorZaIN's in a good spot.
ThorZaIN is in an excellent spot. Delphi's doing all the smart maneuvers to transition out, getting the 1-1 upgrades, pathogen glands. I mean, if you're going to be committed to making drones rather than Zerglings, you may as well abandon the Mutaling aggression plan and just do light Mutalisk aggression and tech over to Infestors. Infestor drone is a lot better than Mutalisk drone.
Yeah, it's a very, very scary composition. As for now, we will have that centrifugal hooks coupling up here with the Banelings for Delphi in just a little bit. The Mutalisks actually going for some engagements on missile turrets, but you know, 1 or 2 Mutalisks for 1 missile turret is not necessarily the most amazing of trades here for Delphi. Just having to fall back on those Ling Infestor for now.
So it looks like pretty standard passive procedures from both players. We're seeing ThorZaIN start his 2-2 upgrade, which is the signal to get all the other macro buildings. We see extra barracks with reactor, factory 2. Turrets planted up on all sides. Soon enough, he'll actually be adding on another 3 barracks and just really blasting out the Marines. Once he gets 2-2, it's going to be time to attack. And the question is, does Delphi have the defensive setup that he needs? He can go for the more Infestor-focused play, or he can go for the more Zergling-focused play and get another macro hatch.
Yeah, that Zergling-focused play is one of my favorites, just to end up getting a ton of Zergling, Baneling, and crashing into your opponent. But for now, we do have that potential drop on the way for ThorZaIN in his opponent's main. And actually, now that I look at it, a lot of Delphi's tech is very vulnerable here. If ThorZaIN realizes that, he might be able to try and focus down some of it.
Oh, looks like a huge attack's moving up. Delphi really wants to do some serious damage, and he is going to be able to do massive pain here. All the vulnerable SCVs get annihilated. Only a few remain at the backside, and it looks like the fungal growths are also going to be able to pick off some good chunks of Marines, but I can't actually tell if Delphi came out ahead or behind in that one. He did manage to kill off 30 workers, dropping ThorZaIN down to 48, but I mean, he lost a lot of units.
Yeah, those Infestors being lost is a big hit there, and he's not really even... I mean, if you go to the units lost tab, yeah, he's lost 2k more, 1.5k more, but I don't think he's really made much of that, much more than ThorZaIN, because, you know, both players have been on third bases now for quite a while here. So Delphi is trying to find some kind of stable mid-game with this Hive now on the way at this 15-16 minute mark. But this comes back to that conversation that you had before with us, Sean, about, you know, the vulnerabilities and how the timings work out for when a Terran needs to hit.
Yeah, I mean, like this 2-2 timing, it's perfect. It's right before you'll end up seeing the Hive tech be in use. I mean, you see the Greater Spire getting produced there, but in exchange for going for that Greater Spire, we're seeing Delphi have not a single Infestor. I mean, he lost a couple, yeah, but I mean, he can either make Infestors to stay alive for now, or he can go for Corruptor Broodlord. ThorZaIN is striking at the ideal spot. We're seeing some small counterattacking attempts from Delphi, but ThorZaIN is hitting at the perfect time. He has free reign to enter this natural expansion. This is the big juncture in this matchup of Zerg vulnerability.
Yeah, and these counterattacks from Delphi really show the fact that he knows he is in a lot of trouble here with how aggressively ThorZaIN is moving out with this scary, scary army. Unless Delphi can get a perfect engagement against this, and look at this, he's actually splitting up his army quite nicely here. He's going to swing in from the back with a ton of Banelings. Are they going to be able to connect well enough? A lot of them connecting with some of the tanks at the front, splitting those Marines all the way from the back. And even some siege tanks at the back, not sieged up, but there's so many Marines left over. Delphi, 50 supply down right now.
And once again, we see the issue with going for those Broodlords instead of the Ultralisks when there's this 2-2 timing push coming. There's almost nothing you can do about this very attack. Terran just goes and kills you.
And there's a few more Banelings morphing in, but they're not going to be in time to be able to deal with these Marines. As you said, the 2-2 timing killing him off so quickly. GG for game number 1. As that is going to do it. Wow, ThorZaIN hitting that so well after Delphi lost quite a few infestors up at the north.
Yeah, I still want to credit that early push from ThorZaIN for putting him in the position he wanted to be in. He does this push right when Mutalisks pop out, so he's not really vulnerable. But most importantly, he's forced Zerg to build not drones. Force him to build Lings and Mutalisks just to stay alive to that attack. And then after the attack's done, the Zerglings are almost certainly gone. So now the Zerg has 2 things he needs to catch up on. The drones he didn't build before, and now the drones that he needs to build because he lost some. And in all that time, no Zerglings can be made. The harassment is not Mutaling, it's Muta. So Delphi has to transition over to Infestor Ling, which opens up this 2-2 timing push again for ThorZaIN. So that allowed him to take the win. And now as we go into the next game, I mean, things are looking very good for ThorZaIN as he's winning just with standard long-term play.
Yeah, so we'll be back in just a little second, guys, with game number 2 after this commercial break.